Pauline Cotter and Helen Wells of the Fastnet Organising Committee. Thank you for joining me amid your busy schedule. Can you start by telling me how both of you came to be living and working in Schull?
I think maybe you should take that one first. Yeah.
I came over here on holiday about 10 years ago. Was on maternity leave from my job in London, and my husband wanted to live in Ireland for a long time, but I didn't. We came on holiday. We were on holiday in Kenmare, and he came over for the day, and he came back and said that I found where we're going to live. So come over and see Schull, and it was a beautiful August day. Drove into Schull, and all the boats were in the harbour, and on a whim said, yes, if I'm going to live anywhere in Ireland, I'll live here. We went into the estate agents and found details for the property that we lived in. Spent hours trying to find it because there were no road names. Finally found it, and as I say, that was the August. By the April we were here.
Wow.
We'd sold in England and haven't looked back since. Actually, love it here.
That's lovely. That's really nice. And where in England had you been living?
The last place we lived was Epsom in Surrey.
Okay.
And we were coming over here on holiday. My husband used to come here as a child. He used to go to holiday in Glandore.
Okay.
So he was sort of familiar with the area. But it really was a whim.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. It's a good whim.
Gave up my job and I came over here. Retired.
Have you been retired since?
I've been retired. I'm very tired. Yeah.
Mine is a little bit... didn't travel as much as her to find them, right? My grandparent and parentage is from West Cork, Ballydehob. Hare Island originally. My grandfather was from Hare Island.
Oh, lovely.
He was a fisherman. And as things got tougher and rougher for them, go back how many years, the economy was bad. You know, there was not much income at the time. So they moved to Ballydehob, and my mother was born in Ballydehob. And at the age of 11, she was given to another family because the mother of the house had died. That's what they did at those times. My uncle went to a workhouse, my mother went to a family, my other sister went to work with a doctor in Mallow, somewhere, aunt, I should say. So then I was born from my mother, but I was schooled in Cork, let's say, and then my mum got ill, and about 28 years ago, 29 now, I returned to spend some time with her. And I have never gone back to live in a city again because I just love West Cork. I found the nurturing for myself here. It was beautiful because I was going through some difficulties coping with the dwarfism and everything. So this was a good place. Okay. So I got involved, and here I am. I have a son since, and it's wonderful.
And there is, there's so many beautiful parts to Ireland, but there is something about once you get beyond Cork.
Something very special.
I don't know what it is, but there is.
There's something very unique. Helen, who was telling us the other day that they knew somebody that had a wealthy family. They met them for the first time down here. They'd been for years and years and years going to. They have property in the south of France, and they had never come south of Cork. This was their first year, and they said they will never go back to France again. Okay. That it was so lovely. Okay. So you can find something here.
Yeah.
There's something very nurturing about the spirit and the soul down here.
And grounding.
Yes.
Yeah.
People are very real down here. You know, they really are very real. They'll see you for what you are.
And
very
they're
quickly.
Interested in you as well.
They're interested, yeah.
And I suppose there is that so many people have kind of come to live here that there is something of that.
There's a pool here, isn't there, really? You know, there's something.
It's very cosmopolitan too.
Yeah, it is.
It's extremely cosmopolitan. You've got the multiplex of languages.
Yeah.
You have a lot of French living here, Polish, German, Italian, and American.
I think there are more French restaurants or French-run restaurants
in the area.
Schull.
Yeah, and you have tapas.
Chinese, the Spanish.
Yeah. So you have it's very grounded.
Multicultural.
Yeah.
And people find it, I think.
They do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they find it, which is a different.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, the Fastnet Film Festival in a town without a cinema. Yeah. How did that all first kick off?
It probably started many years ago. In 2005, I opened a little place across the road. That's actually where I met Helen, called in first to rent a video. Do you remember that?
That's right.
And I opened a little place, and a lot of the kids at the time were just getting hooked on the cameras, the phones with the cameras, and they'd gone to the beach and they'd come back and they'd show me, and I used to say to them, you should make a film of it, or something like that. It started like that. And then...
But then we did the arts festival.
Then we did the arts
We're
festival.
running the arts festival. We wanted to introduce a different element to it. So we got John Kelleher, Maurice Caesar and David Putnam to choose their favourite film from the perspective that they worked from. So Maurice from composing, John from censorship and David Putnam from production. And it was a big hit, wasn't it?
It was amazing. John brought... Morris did, which was amazing.
Yeah.
He did the good, the bad and the ugly. And he explained all the musical connotations. So he told us how to know when Clint Eastwood was coming back in again. Because he had a theme. He had a theme. And Eli Wallace had a theme,
Yeah.
And he taught us that. But then, David brought, what was it, The Lives of Others?
The Lives of Others.
Yeah, this was really
very
fun.
good.
It was beautiful.
And John was Casablanca, which was so interesting.
Yeah, because he showed us parts that were cut because of censorship.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So, I mean, and there was nothing wrong with the part.
No.
But there was the kiss.
It was the
implying
kiss
that
and
they had the affair.
Yeah, and alluding to the fact that she was a married woman.
Yeah, and that they were having...
That had to be cut.
Really?
Yeah,
and that they
it
had a
was so
previous
interesting.
affair.
Yeah.
Not married. If you know, and that sort of...
So it's from that, and then you got to go
And then
to a
What
group
year
of
was
people.
Casablanca you're looking at?
Oh, for God's sake, you're talking about the
It was
50s, 60s.
Okay.
60s, I
But
think.
he said there was still certain parts of the film that couldn't be shown up until sort of the late 80s, early 90s, I think.
When there was sort of an easing. John was very good for censorship, actually, in
Yeah.
this country. He was much more broad-minded. And also, I think the influence of the church had sort of depleted a little bit. Not totally gone then, but they did have a major influence on what was shown here as well. Because he was explaining to us that there would be a censorship panel as well. And there were people from different aspects of life, like church and politicians and, civil servants that would have a say, and journalists and things.
And they'd all come with their own agenda.
Yes.
I suppose,
Absolutely.
As well. It'd be
Yeah.
very hard to...
So it was very, very interesting. And then after that, we could see the economy. I mean, we knew the economy was going to take a twist, and Schull was going to need something. It needed something unique. So then I spoke to herself, and I said, I have an idea, leave it to me. And that was in 08. And we met in the September of 08, and I said it to a collective group of people, and we all met. And we nearly met every week.
We did. Every Wednesday there's about 20. 22 people.
But then we discovered
But it's very
nothing was happening because there were so many
Yeah.
people having ideas, but there was nothing getting grounded. So then I stepped back from it we stepped back from about a month. So then I said it to her, I said it to Morris, and I said it to Chris O'Dell and
Hillary.
And I said, that's what we need.
We need a
That's what we need.
steering committee
And-
so that we could meet, discuss all the ideas that had come up at the previous meeting, and then make some decisions.
Okay.
And it started from there.
started
didn't
from
it,
there.
Really? Yeah.
And I mean, I think, as you said, it's even the line you used in the question, why would you think to do a film festival with no cinema? It was exactly that, because it had to be unique.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you have 5 cinemas in the town, it's easy to do a film festival. If you've none and you have to come with a creative idea of how to do it, how do you get it out there?
And you have made a virtue of that because you're very
Yes.
inventive with where you show films and how you show them. And
We had to be.
I think it was just the uniqueness of it, as Helen said. We just had to be. You had to come up. Another aspect of it as well was for the first year we brought down this cinema mobile, so that was a place, and then we had the hotel at the time, but it wasn't unique. It really wasn't unique. So then a few people got together, Teco people, and they said, which was really clever, there must be a way that we can actually put cinemas everywhere.
Use
Bring
the
it.
town.
Yeah, so they both.
And
We
then
both.
we lost the hotel at that point.
We lost
so
the
we
hotel.
didn't have a main venue.
Okay.
So to intranet the whole town and then give the businesses a chance to be involved as well, and put screens up in sort of pubs, restaurants, hairdressers, bookshops,
Horse boxes.
horse boxes.
A bus.
It was, yeah.
an island. Was
An
it
island.
this
Yeah,
year?
this is our second year in the island.
Which is
because
huge,
there is like, I mean, as there is there's a palpable sense of warmth and support from the local community.
Yes.
Like, how important is that? And then in turn, how important is the festival to the local community and the local economy?
They both benefit each other.
They
And
do.
without, we kickstart the tourist season by, there's sort of 3,500 people that now come down and, not just for the films, but for the atmosphere as well. And I think because we have this up close and personal, everyone is treated exactly the same, regardless of whether they're a Hollywood star or whether they're a filmmaker just starting out. Everybody is treated exactly the same. And we've introduced a voucher system for the guests that it's not just for food and drink, but they can go and use them in any of the businesses in town. Accommodation is now completely booked up months in advance.
Yeah. I've booked for next year again, the B&Bs. I just have to, because we may not have a hotel. And even if I did have the hotel, I would still like to give it back to those that supported us when we didn't have. Another angle of it that I like was, and I mean, I'm not afraid to say this, when we did it for the first few years, I mean, the village stood back a little bit. I think they do that, but now they do to most organisations, because they want to wait to see, this could be a fish in a pan, flash in the pan. And it could be. But once they saw that this was a grounded group and what it was doing for the village, and they saw that all the
strong committee,
and that the committee were all voluntary.
Yeah.
You could see them coming on board. And Helen runs the volunteers. How many volunteers did you have this year?
About 80. In total, not just people that are on call the whole for the festival itself, but those that help in the lead up. And we found that, the fire brigade come out a week before, they power hose the streets, so the whole village, they will clean the businesses, they will paint, so everybody.
And the flower power people. Oh, sorry.
The tidy towns.
You can actually even put in flower power if you want, because they love that. As Pauline and Helen fondly call them, the flower power people. But they come and they start getting the baskets ready in February. So they've all the baskets are beautifully planted, so the town is adorned. And then there's big cleanups, and we do a huge, massive cleanup about a week before.
Okay.
And everybody gets involved. Kids coming along with their litter bags and gloves.
It's great.
It starts the atmosphere. It just begins it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, as well as that, then you've become a permanent fixture in filmmakers' calendars too. Like Lenny Abrahamson's on your board, Steve Coogan. Yeah. How important were people of that
caliber?
Yeah.
I tell you what, the funny thing about it is, we had one or two people which I now totally stand back and admire them for. Because a part of us would think the film festival, we get a load of film stars. No. We concentrated on the craft
Craft of film, yeah.
That's what has made us unique.
Yeah.
Last year's workshops, oh my God.
Yeah, the workshops are incredible.
They were incredible. You people and students coming down, and the workshops were just amazing. There was lighting, Final Cut Pro, scripting, sound. So, and these were for, and what was it to go in?
It was 10 euros per session, and they were completely booked out, which is great. And in the past we've had Andrzej Barczovic, who's a cinematographer, Hollywood cinematographer, who came the year before last, and ran a workshop where he asked people to produce a script, and then he would show them how to film it. That was great. Even Jim Sheridan wanted to be on that, and he was. So these people went on this workshop thinking that it was just with Andre, and then suddenly Jim is there directing it. So even the guests love coming back year after year.
And there was that atmosphere. It was a melting pot of everybody, and you kind of tapped into.
There's another very important thing that we did.
If we could bottle it and sell it.
Yeah, I totally agree. There was another very important thing that we discovered, and I have to say, each year from when we began, we've learned something new every year, and we have strived, and we don't.
Yes.
We never do have the same fault again. We will learn, but the most important thing we learned in the second year, or from the first year, family.
Yes.
We can get Lenny Abramson, Jim Sheridan, you name them all to come down. Steve Coogan, he bring his entourage friends, Mike Lee, his wife. they
Pack
want
linen,
to
yeah.
pack linen. They want to bring, if they know that their wife and family are going to have a bit of fun as well. So then we concentrated on doing the Secret Garden, a place for children.
Right, okay.
So we have
And so they're now
fringe
also
event.
cater, we have a fringe section that the kids can go to. They learn puppetry, they learn, actually they did an animation workshop one year, and that's terribly important as well. You must, it's a complete unit when you have.
It has to be family events.
Family.
And the wives of the sort of big directors have said to us that they never normally get an invitation anywhere. So, or if they do, they're sitting in a hotel room and the kids are at home. So for them to come down here, they can all be involved, that's why they keep coming back. So,
and there's never an overkill with them.
Right.
There's never an overkill with them. There'll be about. There was a lovely incident with Mike Lee.
Yes.
That was a beautiful one because they come from England. We have one or two specific things for them to do, and then he discovered when he was looking at the program that there was a talk on the Saturday afternoon, right? Because he was on Sunday, and it was a directors and a producers forum, right? And it was we have Aidan Stanley, who's superb, and we've John Keller, who's superb, and they can come in as interviewers or presenters, and he discovered it was on, and he said, well, why can't I go to that one? And we sort of said, well, no, we just thought you might want to go to the Miz, and we thought you might. No. He said, I want to be at that. Yeah. So can you imagine the audience when they came in? And they think it's just going to be Lenny and Carmel and there's Mike Lee sitting on the stage.
But it was the same with Jim Sheridan, that he got the press release when we launched the Island Cinema and rang to book tickets because he just thought it was a fabulous idea and, why am I not coming down for it? So, we found him a place and he came down
your
and got
programme
involved.
There was too much to do. There was too much.
So
well,
we don't see anything, do we?
No, we actually don't, but there's a gentleman I think we all would like
to
take the time to really explain that, in a sense, he's our standing stone, he's our grinding stone, Greg Dyke. Greg Dyke is the head of the Irish British Film Board, but he's also recently become the head of the British FA, right? But he is a source of invaluable context for us, and he sort of says, "Well, what are you thinking of for next year?" And we might mention a name, and he'd say, "Oh, he's a friend, I know him."
Yeah.
Right, I'll get you his email. He'll get the office to send us the email. We do an introduction. There you go.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And he is the he's the final interview with the stars in the night.
A big interview on the Sunday.
And that's
always from the beginning.
From the beginning he's been with us. He gives up cans to come to us.
Yeah, he does.
And Jim Sheridan would give up cans. And Lenny couldn't, because I think they have to go for the first week if they're looking for funding for a film or something. But they will get back here.
Yeah.
Remember the year we had to get Jim Sheridan back from Cannes? Oh my God. That was such fun. But he wanted to come so much, we suggest. But they love it because of its uniqueness. They love it because there's no fakeness to it. They love the fact that they can sit down and a film director can come up and chat to them. Yeah. And they don't mind. That's the lovely thing.
And
Jack Gold, who's been with us since the beginning. Jack comes and Jack will go to all the shorts, and if the filmmakers are there, he'll
talk to
them. He'll say to them, and he'll talk to them. He'll say, an extra camera there now in that scene would have been, and
that's invaluable.
Yeah.
You kind of shifted it back to the work. It
is the craft.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is,
and it's funding is probably the biggest headache we have. Really, I mean, we can get the premises, but funding is the biggest headache because, as I said, everybody does it voluntary. All the money that we get goes to paying to make the festival the success it is, so that we can run it. Yeah. Now this year, last year we took the office. We could never do this without an office again.
And was last year the first year you had an office?
We had it the year before, but we only had it for a couple of months before the festival and during the festival. Right. This year we've taken it on for a year.
Okay.
But we've brought the community in as well, because as you can see, that's all got to do with the sailing centre. We had what was the other one they did here?
Tourist office.
Tourist office now we're doing as well. So it allows it, people are using it, coming in and...
Which is great.
So you kind of touched on one of my questions there, which was funding.
Yeah.
And coming by it, and has that become more difficult in recent years? Or
Yeah, I mean, we're very lucky. We have loyal supporters that keep coming back year after year, but we do still have to apply for funding, extra funding.
Yeah, but I've sort of been.
That's
I'm going to be very
Pauline's
honest.
area.
I've been very tweaked and sort of annoyed at the Arts Council, but I've said that to them at open meetings and whatnot. You know, they're in Dublin, they look down and they actually said, sure, isn't there a film festival in Cork? They had no idea of the landscape and the difference in what we were doing. And but then suddenly they've noticed, my God, they're getting the Mike Lees, they're getting the Tim Sheridans, they're getting the Greg Dykes, so they're sort of wondering. And we have also, which I love, we've now, we're trying to get into, we did a thing with the schools, getting all the schools to do a little one. We like a local thing as well. We found all local films.
Yeah, local interest is a big hit.
Yeah, it's a big hit. So what we're hoping to do now, because we mentioned that last year, that we're going to put out a feeler early, maybe in September, up on the site and up in maybe in the newspaper, for people that have old films that they may have converted of the area.
Oh, brilliant!
You know, and they're a big hit.
Yeah,
the other people love to come to see them, like the movie on The Mizzen was such a hit.
Yes, very good.
You know,
Mizzen experience.
The Mizzen experience we had.
And when was that filmed?
What you see,
I think it was the
all black and white.
70s,
Oh, even
earlier
earlier.
than that.
You can see them at one stage being hoisted by rope, swinging up to the lighthouse.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Because I suppose we've shifted so much in a short period of years
To the
as a
digital.
society. You know,
Absolutely.
we're going to lose a huge amount.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, there exists a huge rural-urban divide yet in how things are perceived. Is that a frustration for you?
If you let it be, it can be. But if you take it on as a challenge that you need to, we'll get this sorted.
Use it.
And use it. And
Really.
tell them what you're doing. And it's fine. I mean, we're sort of trying to come up, we try and come up with something new each year. Like, I loved, and everybody loved, except for the woman that fell asleep snoring in the middle of it. We had a cinema that projected onto a ceiling. I think, did you see it?
Yeah, no, I fell asleep too.
Did you fall asleep?
Lie
Nothing to do with
lie
the
down
film,
at the
nothing
Lido.
to
Lie down at
It
the
was
Lido. It
so
was
fun.
such fun. And they loved it. We had so many people saying it was so good. We had a woman that came into us and she had just returned from the BAFTAs.
Yes.
And very, very pretty, I'd say she was in the industry.
Yes, definitely.
And she came and said, I just had to come in and tell you, I've just come from the Producers Forum.
Yeah.
And I've just also come from the Producers Forum at the BAFTAs. And said, I can tell you, they didn't have a look at.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So it's comments like that we love.
Yeah, and then Libby, what's her name, Libby Purvis?
Libby Purvis.
Purvis.
Yeah, wrote a fabulous article about the festival.
And she was over on holidays. She went home, never told us, she went home and the Telegraph, the British, the Saturday Telegraph, they took it up. And I looked at the stats, over 358,000 people read the paper that day.
Wow,
Yeah.
goodness. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And she did a beautiful piece and all about the inventiveness of the place and the stunning beauty. And I loved her line about, and suddenly I noticed these two old codgers heading to Hackett's for a pint. And that was David Bowman and Greg Dyke. You know, that kind of thing. But there's those kind of stories. And you've got the young little artists coming in that say, I just have my picture on my name.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And they don't mind. Because once they arrive, they're minded, they're greeted, they're looked after. We give them any free time they want to walk around the place and look, and we get somebody then to sort of mind them and say, actually it's terribly funny. Could you go find Mike Lee? For God's sake, he's supposed to be down the hall, you know. And they love that. And somebody goes find them and they said, like you're 20 minutes, we'll be fine, you know. But they're very good.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing. Funding is the big thing. I think if we need to survive, I think maybe instead of putting one person in charge, because I think sometimes that can put if you've just one person's artistic opinion, that means that you're getting their strain on it. Whereas by having 4 people on the committee, you're
There's
pulling,
an exchange.
oh my God, exchange, exchange? Do we not pull each
Yeah.
other's hair out at times?
You see, the committee is strong because each role that we've taken on was sort of our background anyway, and I think that's, Hilary was always involved in PR and it's amazing at that. Pauline with fundraising and hospitality. My background was administration, and Chris actually worked as a cinematographer in the business. So coming together, it's
We
very
bring a uniqueness
Yeah.
from us to it
and we're
that
good,
actually
we're very
makes the
good with
package.
ideas as well,
Yeah.
aren't we?
It makes the
But we
package.
bounce back. If we don't think it's a strong idea, then we'll put it on the back burner, and then something else will happen, and things evolve.
But
with us.
it also works that we're not afraid to say, like, we just take an example of the island. Everybody, I mean, we did stand back and say, are you freaking crazy? The island, how are we going to do it? And I said, sure, look, we wouldn't have brought it to all the other places unless we had an
Yeah.
idea. Let's try the island. So we find a gentleman out there, Robert, and he loved it so much. He said, you can have my sitting room.
Yeah.
So then, at that time, it was the two Marias they were whizzing at making a house look like a cinema. So they went out, and he bought his own big screen and everything. We didn't even have to bring the screen out there. He bought a big, huge screen, platinum thing. They went out and they made it look like a cinema. And then this year, Robert couldn't do it, but his friend Morris said,
Oh,
"Actually,
I'll do that."
you could. I have a bedroom." So he gave us a huge,
Yeah.
they went a huge bedroom. We're going to get out and see them this year,
We
definitely.
will,
But
yeah.
it's a credit to you that you get that response from people.
Yeah.
That you are such a good team.
I think as well we dream big. So we think of, the most outlandish people, they're at the height of their career, and think, yeah, we could get them to Schull. And somehow, through, contacts with Greg Dyke or Pauline persuading, they come over.
Okay.
And then they don't want to leave. So
Okay.
that's how it works.
We
for us.
we have big ideas. We have
We
big
do.
ideas. We need to. My idea for many years would be, I would love to find a permanent structure. Not that it would be the cinema, that it would be the place we'd show everything, but that so that if we did develop into a educational aspect
Yeah.
of film, that we would have a place where editing could be done, sound and whatnot, a
Right,
centre,
Okay.
and a small little
Film
auditorium to
school
show.
of
Oh,
Yeah,
some
right.
kind. That would
a
be our
year round-
dream.
That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
That's our dream.
And I'm
Uh,
sure
isn't it?
it would be the dream of many other filmmakers to
Yes,
be able to come
yeah.
and do that here.
Because of the film festival, there are quite a few films that have actually been made in this location now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we've brought them down, shown them what the area's like, the type of people that are here, the locals.
there were two features,
And,
wasn't it?
yeah, we've had the runway,
The runway and with the
and
pier.
the pier,
And then the lads came
and
down
the
and
lads
did
came down with the hatch,
the hatch and
the daisy chain. So
Yeah.
there are lots of.
And it is, the landscape just walking around
Yeah.
yesterday is made for it.
It is.
You know,
It is
so
indeed,
many
yeah. It's
years.
and the light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the
That's
light.
what stuns
Yeah.
them all. The light.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just the colouring.
Yeah.
I have a wonderful German-Italian friend, Akim, photographer, and what made him move to West Cork was he always felt that the land was smiling at you because the light was
Yes.
so good on it that he thought it was so beautiful.
That's a lovely way of putting it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that the land was smiling at you is what he said, and it was a photographer's dream. You know, and I can see why cameramen would love it.
Yes.
Absolutely love it, and to be honest, there's some thriving little young people here too, and I thought, which was brilliant this year, which we hope maybe we will continue to develop a unique friendship with them, was when UCC came down
Yes.
Yes.
and they celebrated their graduation here.
Mm.
Now that was, because that's what we want to do. It needs to be sort of a
We need
cohesive with a few other
collaboration with
other
others.
groups.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've answered kind of one of my questions as to where would you like to see the festival go, but you've kind of answered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the education.
The educational
side.
aspect is
Yeah.
and introducing it to the younger people in schools. Maybe
Yeah.
we'd love to do that. I mean, it's they all can do it. They all have. I mean, your daughter.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
They can do it, you know, but just to give them the structure of how to bring it into their computers and edit it and sort of make a little thing of it.
Yeah. And we'd like to run workshops throughout the year.
Yeah.
So, we do so much work for 5 days that to continue it throughout the year isn't going to be much.
No.
No,
more,
and it's a huge
really.
investment for
Yeah.
a little time.
Yeah.
You know, that to
Exactly.
continue it would
Yeah.
be.
It actually does take, to be very honest, it takes a year.
It does take a year.
It takes all the time
Yeah.
that we need to do this.
So can you take me through when your year's work starts for the next festival?
Well, the festival plan would start September.
Okay.
And it obviously goes round to the end of May, but then from
End of
June,
reports.
July, August, we're doing reports. So it is we're not meeting as often during the 3 summer months, but it is a yearly
We have
process.
to, for grants,
Yeah.
you probably know that, for grant aid, you have to submit reports, your tax clearance, your accounts, whatnot. They all have to be done by a specific date so that you can get grant. Like, I'll give you an example. The Arts Council for next year, they've just posted the date. I think it's remind me of that. I think it's the 25th of September. We know we have to go on, get our report done and get that. Do you know what I mean? Get our application in.
Cork County Council need a report.
Yeah.
You know, all our sponsors.
And we like to send it to our sponsors too, our private ones as well. You know, we want them to feel a part, so we send them a report. And it's important. Anybody actually can come in because of we are limited but tax cleared. Anybody can go in and have a look at our report. There's no problem. And I think there is money structurally needed. There is money definitely needed. But I think also the likes of Hillary, the likes of Helen, myself, and the fact that it's done for nothing is, in a sense, it's not nothing because you give so much of time, and you couldn't value that. You couldn't value that.
It is a full-time job.
And if you bring one person in, say, and give them 30,000 to run it, okay, I think in a sense it's almost unfair. If you gave 5 to each of the group to do what they did, that then would be a bonus. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, yeah.
And then you'd still have the cohesiveness of the group.
Yes.
But it's not going away. I know it isn't going away. Every year we all say we're not. Oh God, we're not doing it again next year. We're not doing it.
But we all love it. Really.
Yeah.
There was a sense you were enjoying the mayhem as well.
Yeah, we love the being in the box office because we get to meet.
We get to meet everybody.
Yeah.
We don't get out.
People come to us. We don't get to see anything until after the event because we film it for the archive. But we do watch every submission film that is
sometimes
entered
twice
into the festival.
And what are the criteria then for selecting the films?
The committee watch absolutely everything, and we have to go through to make sure that they are within the rules and regulations. So no pornography or racist films or
violence,
over violence.
And have you gotten submissions that? Yes. Okay.
And we try to. Our policy has always been that we try to screen everything that's submitted. There were a few films this year that didn't make that selection because they weren't within our guidelines. Okay. It then goes through to
how many others? But 20?
Local, another sort of 20 judges will watch watch those films that we've put through this next step of selection, and then we take the scores of each category. They're judged on overall concept, script, direction, cinematography, use of music. The top scoring 20 in each category will then go through to a category judge who is an industry professional.
Okay.
And then they will make their shortlist.
Okay.
But, I think where we are unique is that we try to screen, or we do screen every film in our main venues, but then in our distributed cinema, they get another 5 or 6 screenings.
Yes.
And I don't think any other festival gives us many screenings as we do. So
for yourselves, that's a huge amount of film watching during the year as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you like what film? You have to love it. Did you come to this?
No, we do.
With
We
a
love them.
of film?
Actually, most of us get to. We look at them twice, and what really they adore is when they come in, and they say hi, I am, and I'd say, and your film was, and we could immediately go in and we'd say, I love that scene, and they're going, you saw it. They are so blown away at the fact that you can remember it and you see it, and that's important.
I would have a lot of interaction with the filmmakers during the process because I coordinate the submission, but the whole of the committee watch everything.
And then coordinating each program, do you try and find a similar theme, or is it a mixed bag?
No, we mix them up.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think if you were we have hour-long programs, and if you were to sit through an hour of drama, I mean, you know, in the scheme of things, that's fine. But short films, as much as they're short, they do take a lot of concentration, so you do need to break it up with animation, comedy, drama, and have a selection within the program.
Have you an upper limit on how long a short film should
15 minutes is the maximum.
With a with a run of
they're allowed another minute for credits, but it has to be 16 minutes. You know, and we've got to the stage now. There's one particular filmmaker that submitted quite a few years, and he sent a film in that was 18 minutes, and I watched it, and it was fabulous. But I couldn't accept it because it was 18, and so I had to go back to say to him, you know, really, could you cut it down? And he said, oh yeah, I've been meaning to edit. So, you know, that was great because it was such a good film. Yeah. It does, yeah. And he said I needed someone to tell me that I needed
somebody to kill my babies.
But if you think of the craft, that's why I always say this, that it is probably the hardest craft of film to do, short film.
Yeah, it is. It's very difficult.
Because the story has to be so precise and unique that it will bring you. Because I mean, there's so many of them out there. We've seen now over the years how many hundreds. But if the story, and I've always stressed this to the young filmmakers, write a good story. Yeah. If you write a good story, you can shoot a good film. I mean, with the right cameraman, director, whatnot. But if the story isn't right, forget it.
Yeah. But they also need to leave enough funds at the end to work on their sound. Because a lot of the films don't get through. It may be a great film, but you can't hear it. Or the sound is distorted. Yeah. And they don't take enough time on sound. Okay. So that's one thing
that's one of the workshops we did insist on this year. Because they fault on it. There was one particular one, and it was made in Cork, we shall say no more, but beautifully shot, absolutely lovely camera work, absolutely. But they moved from an interior scene out to an exterior scene, and they didn't have mic buffers, you know, the silencers. We could pick up a bus.
They lost it, It
do you know that kind of thing? And it just changed the whole mood of what you'd seen from inside, you know? And it was a shame, it really was, because it had great potential. But the camera work was beautiful, and the storyline was quite clever and good too. But
I will say that the Irish entries are improving every year.
Oh my God, since we saw
Ireland this year blew every other country out the water.
Really?
Yeah. The Irish, I mean, it was
They're getting so much better.
And the problem with a festival is that you have different categories, and not many people will make experimental or dance or documentaries. So there's a big chance if you submit your film, you will get, you know, into a shortlist. Whereas those that submit comedy and drama, and the majority of the time the drama are fabulous, and we have about 30 films that could all win it. But because it's such a big category, they're overpopulated, which is such a shame. Yeah.
And then, do you notice a theme that occupies, or certain themes that occupy?
Well, a couple of years ago, suicide seemed to be the biggest. Every film was so depressing because everyone seemed to think, right, we'll do a film on suicide, wasn't it?
I think it was a big theme at the time.
Yeah.
There was a big press media about
I do hate it when they use violence and a big use of swearing because they think that it makes them sound tough, and it's not. And those films that sort of have an ambiguous ending, story. Don't they? They don't finish the film because they think if they leave it hanging, people are one. Half the time, you know, I would say 1 in 10 that works, but the rest of the time, leaving the film without an ending doesn't work, and you're left thinking they've copped out. You know, they couldn't think of an ending themselves, so they just finished the film.
She is so right, because there's an example of how clever you can be. We've had many films over the years, and there's about 10 that will always come to my mind, but the one that will top it every single time is Happy
Birthday Timmy.
3 minutes.
Happy Birthday Timmy.
It was called Happy Birthday Timmy. It was a student film, an end of a graduation film,
yeah.
It was 3 minutes. It was one shot where the camera comes back and the story unfolds. No sound, no speaking, music. It's fabulous. I mean, if he had been older, he would have won
that year.
everything.
Right, okay.
But it was in the young people.
Fabulous.
But it was 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was the uniqueness of it, because from the moment he starts pulling the camera back, he has already got you glued. He's hooked you. So you're going, what's he doing here? What's he doing here?
Just the clever.
And then it pulls back, and there's this beautiful face of a young boy's birthday, obviously. And his face and his eyes, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then as it pulls back, you see behind the scene the mother beating the bejesus out of the father. Because what has the father got his 9-year-old for a birthday present?
Well, it was meant to be an entertainer, obviously a children's entertainer.
But he got the wrong one, he got a stripper.
Instead. But it's fabulous.
And the whole thing is shot between the legs of her coming back.
It's just fabulous.
It was so clever.
Actually, Jerry Stembridge and Jack Gold did not stop talking about the film.
Really?
They just thought, for a student to come up with that concept and
he's going to go far.
Work. Oh, yeah.
And what year was that?
That was third year?
3 or 4 years
ago. About a third year.
Very good.
It was really good. But he was a student at the time, so...
Yeah.
But... that to me, that one, and I love the one with the Pentecost.
Pentecost is very good.
Yeah, when he wants to go to the match and he doesn't want to be in the church.
Yeah.
There's some, and you know what we're getting a lot of,
ideas.
which are really, really good. There must be a lot of money in Tina G, because there's some great Irish movies coming in.
Oh, wow.
I think maybe funding is easier to come by sometimes.
I mean,
for
Ruby
Irish.
won Best of Festival this year, and that film had everything. In there.
Yeah.
It had drama.
And then
comedy,
we had another one. On Cusk.
Yeah, that was our very first year.
Yeah.
Our winner the first
See, that's
year
what I'm trying to say. So,
Irish speaking.
and I mean, we've had a Mexican winner.
Yeah.
We've had like 2 Irish speaking ones.
American. A young Australian this year won the under 17. That was a terrific film.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
It was incredible for a 17-year-old, and they sourced everything in that film. They didn't spend. They had no budget, and
they found the uniforms. They found everything.
Uniforms. People were serving. It was just incredible for a 17-year-old.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd like to put it out there to all those the families that support them, because we love it when we read the accreditations. Yeah. It's the mother that made the tea, the father that drove them around. The uncle that did the painting. I love that.
Festival.
Yeah. But it's that accreditation, so that they've cut down on the funding.
Yeah.
They might have to hire the equipment to get it right, and maybe give the actors a bit of food and tea. But it's when you see the aunties and Auntie Peggy for making the cakes or the sandwiches. I love that.
Yeah. I saw there was one of these little Irish sayings in a book the other day. Nothing is lost until Mammy can't find it.
But that is true. That is so true. That is so true. But it's lovely when we see it. Thanks to Auntie Peggy for making the sandwiches. Thanks to, and they've grafted to do it.
Absolutely.
But there's a point I want to make, and I don't mind if this goes out, okay? The Irish Film Board are there to encourage the creative aspect of filmmakers in all its genres, right? And yet I find, okay, in the short and the main films, and yet I find, and I've noticed this, because I used to go to, I was involved for a while as a volunteer at the Film Festival many, many years ago, 40, 50 years ago, but just to let you know that they almost wait until they get recognised. I think it's when they're the young star that needs to go to them and says, I have an idea for a film. Look, even 5,000 would help me to get it made. They're the people they should be supporting. I'm not going to name any big names, but they wait until they get big names, and then they'll give them the $1 million to make a movie.
Yeah.
I get angry at that. How are they going to get grafting and recognised? They need it. And then what they should do is they should have a distribution system for them. Talk to the cinema. Ask them just before the ads, can they show one of their shorts?
Like used to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
That needs to be there again.
The best part of the film.
It was absolutely right.
And that needs, and I'm quite willing to say that's what they should be doing again. And encourage, if a young filmmaker goes to a cinema and sees his film up on the screen, right, in front of Star Wars, can you imagine what encouragement is that?
Yeah.
And you could have it localised. You could have
You could.
Dingle filmmakers
Yeah.
before a screening
You could.
of
Yeah,
Star Wars.
exactly.
And yeah.
That's
should
what I'm
be
trying to say.
doing that. Yeah.
But it's, you know, some of them are going to fall by the wayside because they get frustrated because they can't get the money to do it. Right? They've already hocked their car, they're now on a bike, that kind of thing. But they need to be, the film board needs to set up something for the category of films, as in the amounts. We see films that are made on 5,000, we see them that are made on 30 or 40,000 or more. And it's, you know, we have to take it all. If we started grading like that, which sometimes subconsciously we do, we take into account that was actually only made for about $5,000. Look at that one that was made for.
And
you know,
Happy Birthday Timmy was a prime example of that.
How much
had
was it?
hardly any budget at all.
No budget at all.
And
But this is what I'm trying to say. I think they need to sit down. I know that the Arts Council are having a reconstructive way of. They're trying to revamp. How can they be better? You know, I mean, there's another example. We applied to maybe 4 institutions for funding. Hilary and I went to the Arts Council overview meeting in the Metropolitan Cork. Lenny was chairing it. And you were split up for suggestions. And I said, I cannot understand why every year, every single year, I put the exact same stuff onto the Arts Council, to the County Council, to the West Cork Development, to what, exact same information. Why not have a central database? Give us a number, put it on, we feed the new information into it as we do it.
Yeah.
That's
and
it.
You've got all the information.
You've got all the information.
And a lot of it is the same information year after year.
Yeah. And a lot of it is completely time consuming. I'm beginning to think that they need, it's jobs for the civil servant. But, you know, we're in the age of technology. One database, Fastnet Show Film Festival, their number, everything comes up.
Yeah.
Right? And then we can keep control of it and revamp it every year we do a new one, put the new information in. You know? And they have our information. If our committee changes, we tell them, we put it in.
Yes, there's an economy of time as well.
Oh my
Absolutely.
God, yeah.
So just kind of to wind things up a little bit, your biggest learning curve since you started?
Never take a fight home.
Never take a fight home.
Don't take the festival
Take it to
home.
the
Yeah.
pub.
Take it to the pub.
We have great fun. We have great fun about this. And I'm always liking Hilary. And Hilary is married to Tom. Helen is married to Rob. All right, they become widows during the film. But I always say to them, "Oh, what was that? Pillow talk?" You know. But we try. Now we do have feisty moments.
Oh yeah.
But that's what the creativity is.
That's necessary.
Yeah,
But
you know,
we
it's,
try not to take them home. Try and never make it personal.
I suppose it's listening to people, listening to each other,
And listening to what they want.
You do learn from others. So any advice that's given to us, or any comments or criticism or praise, we take all of that on board and we try and channel it in the right way.
and be objective about it.
Be
I suppose.
objective,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
But you have to learn from other people. You have to be open-minded, I think, with this. You know, it's very easy to say, oh no, we did everything right this year, and then one person comes along and says, well, actually, that didn't go right. Rather than disregarding what they're saying, actually take it on board and
then we will
about
resource
that.
and find out
And
why.
we will do, yeah.
Because we're in the office, you see.
Yes.
So we have to depend on our volunteers to come back and say to us, that's not working. So really important, Helen says, to listen. Really important. And also to the visitors, to the young filmmakers. They're the important ones as well. Because when we asked them after the second year, we started doing surveys.
Yes.
And a lot of them were saying more workshops.
More workshops.
You know,
more family events.
more
and
family
that's when
events. That's when we started. You know, so you have to listen.
You do have to listen.
And as I say, we have to remain grounded. And that's what we do. We
Yeah.
strive to remain grounded. And we hit hiccups, but we have to, because that's the constructive element. And that's how you become creative. You know, if we don't, if everything runs smoothly, I'm going to leave. Yeah, we will leave, because then you're
And
losing
you
some
won't
juices.
learn anything.
You
at
won't learn
that
anything.
age.
Yeah.
And
we
you're-
have to learn as much as those people that are attending.
But we've learned so much about film, even just how the structure of it.
Yeah, for even us to sit here and talk about what's right with a short
Yeah, I
film
was
and
going
what's
to
not.
say,
you
I
know,
mean,
the first year of judging, it was like, oh, how can I judge this? But now, yes,
I remember the first year when I was judging,
it.
and even though I used to be as I said, go to all the shorts in the Cork Film Festival and everything, and I had a fair idea because I'm a film buff, I like her stuff. But I would remember ringing Chris a few times because he was a cameraman, and I'd say, Chris, do you know that? Have you seen that one yet? And he'd say, yes, Pauline. And I'd say, what did you think? Am I right in thinking that there was no way that camera should have been shaky? And does that mean there's points gone? And he said, it's so visual if you see it, so you learn.
No, it's very evident talking to you. You're as much authority on filmmaking as festival making.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we are.
We're
getting there. We're getting there.
So your proudest moments?
Proudest moments. I suppose one of them was getting the Business to Arts Award for Barry and Fitzwilliam that was presented by Mary McAleese.
And you have to be
it was the best use of festival funding, and we won that award. That was a good moment, wasn't it?
I think my proudest moment is I don't know. It's the I can't explain it. Sometimes it hurts the joy that you have from it. There was a great expression that I had one time when we were asked in an interview. Hillary had set up for me, and they asked, what was your favourite thing about the festival? What is your favourite thing about the festival? And I said, my favourite thing about the festival is that we stand back at the end of it and we go, oh my God, that was fantastic. Yeah. That was brilliant. What's the worst thing about the festival? I said, immediately after that, we stand back, we say, fucking hell, we have to do it all again. You know what I mean? But that's what it is about, the cleaning up. But I think it's...
I think that one of the best moments is when you have the printed version of the programme in your hand, because you know that the months and months of work have actually culminated in this little booklet, and you can actually see on paper what you've done.
That was something that I neglected to ask earlier on, but how late do you finalise the programme? Because filmmakers' schedules can be erratic and pinning people down.
This year we were the earliest we have ever been.
We had it out 2 months in advance, didn't we?
I think it was about 5 weeks.
5 or 6 weeks
before, and it was everything. Yeah, we did it. We were very organised.
And that was because in having here, the office.
Yeah. And
because we are so scattered, otherwise we have to arrange to meet in someone's house, and then that inevitably goes into, let's have a glass of wine. So we stopped that because, but having the office, it's constructed. You have to be there.
You have to concentrate the mind.
Yeah, it does.
But are there filmmakers who last minute can't come because
Lenny this year couldn't, and that was due to the flights just did not work for him coming
from Berlin.
back.
He was coming back to Berlin.
With regards to all the submissions, the deadlines are now so far in advance that we know what programme and how the films are going to work.
We've decided. I think you've decided.
It's going to be even earlier.
We're going to post earlier. So in other words, we'll allow them to submit in November.
Right.
Yeah.
Usually we start submissions.
I mean, a couple of years, the judges, the final judges making their decisions. I mean, in actual fact, this year I had one judge who changed. I can't even say whether it's he or she. Their mind an hour before the ceremony.
Oh no!
And and in actual fact, absolutely right to change it, and I was very pleased with the decision.
Yeah, because he had come into us and he said, "I can't do it. I'm torn. They're so good. I'm torn between." And then he asked us.
But there were actually 3 judges that were very unsure whether they had chosen the right
because the standard was so good.
Yeah, it was very difficult. But with regards to people, the guests coming, no, they're pretty. I mean, I know you had a little bit of trouble with one of them changing their flights and times and taxes and things like that, but
they're the reason why we really can't fill the programme immediately, because if we have all the submissions in by March or April and we've watched them, we could actually do
we could run the festival,
we could run the submissions,
yeah.
But knowing who's guesting, who's coming, because they have to wait to see Cannes, are they finishing a film, it is the featured guests probably that we would have what you'd call the delay on, because they find it very hard to commit completely. Yeah. But I find if you catch them early, like we did last year, right, and they say, come on, we're going to go.
Then
they'll put it
in.
Yeah.
And was there a particular reason you chose late May to do it?
The first year we were slightly early and we conflicted with the first week of Cannes, so we had to change that because that's when all the producers and the directors go, because it's the money week. So we couldn't have it the week early in June because there's a triathlon here and there's a bank holiday. So
we're the last week.
May. We're the last week in May, although we're slightly earlier this year.
Yeah, because the last week is running into the weekend.
The bank holiday, and so it gives the businesses in town 2 weekends of busy time if we don't use the bank holiday weekend.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So finally, what is your favourite film, each of you?
Favourite film from the Schull?
No, like in
of all
general,
time.
Yeah, if you could.
Allow us 3, please. Allow us 3.
Oh my goodness! Oh, that's really tough. Favourite film. Wonderful Life.
Okay.
Would be one.
You know, I've never seen that.
Oh my gosh, that is an amazing film. Wonderful Life. Oh, see, I love the Godfather films.
Okay.
I think they are fabulous. I think for sequels and trilogy, I think they're terrific. I think Wonderful Life is my favourite all time.
Okay, I would have to say.
Oh, but on the waterfront as well.
I'm going back to black and white.
On the waterfront, I think is on the waterfront and.
I want to put in Charlie Chaplin's, the producers. I want to put in Orson Welles, The Third Man. I want to put in Citizen Kane, to me, one of the greats, one of the all-time greats. I want to put in now in modern times. I want to put in Kiss of the Spider Woman. Oh my God! I want Lynch. I love David Lynch in Blue Velvet. Oh God! Oh, never ask me that question.
Yeah, that's really tough.
Night and Day, Jim Jarmusch. And just put in.
Yeah, she
could you put in a little subtitle if you manage to put it in? Pauline's wondering, does anybody ever contact Jim Jarmusch? It would be a fun thing.
She wants Jim Jarmusch.
They might have it in Screen Island. So.
They may do. I will put the call out.
Yeah, Jim Jarmusch, find me a contact.
So if you're listening, Jim Jarmusch, there are some ladies in Schull who
would
definitely
love
want
to
to get in touch.
But you see, I think that's the uniqueness of film, to have ones that just left you wanting to...
But don't you think it's amazing? Those that we've chosen are strong scripts, aren't they?
Yeah, it's the script.
Yeah,
it's the story.
Shawshank Redemption, look at that.
Oh, wonderful. Actually, that would be on my list
Shawshank Redemption, look at that. I mean, The Godfather, Marie.
I love
there
that.
are... Again, the story. It's the story.
Yeah.
I mean, for the life of me, I can't understand how this grey thing...
Oh, yeah.
40 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
How that's... I read that. It was so bad. So bad.
I know. Want to see the film just to see what they've done with it.
Even Gone with the Wind. Oh. Even The Grapes of Wrath. I mean, I go back to... I love old black and whites. Casablanca. You know, those kind of movies. There's...
Oh my God, there's so many. There's so many.
I find it very hard to choose, but Citizen Kane is one I will always remember going back to. Charlie Chaplin and the producers when they played Hitler.
Even the Toy Story films.
Yeah.
You know, as much as they're animation for kids, the script is for adults as well, because they have lines in those films which are just for adults.
But I mean, Tarantino, come on.
Yeah.
The Coen Brothers. I find it so hard.
God, there's so many.
I love them all. The creativity of telling that story in movie. It's the genius of it. It's just brilliant. You know.
And I think
Jim Sheridan is probably my.
Tell
Lenny, I'm really sorry, but Jim is probably one of my favourites because he has a wonderful ability to tell a story.
Yeah.
And he has it crafted. Mm-hmm. He can tell the story, and his camera work, and he brings whatever magic he draws out of those actors or actresses that he uses. He's a genius. I actually think he's a genius.
Actually, this year I thought that Philomena was a terrific film.
Philomena?
Yeah,
I think the script was excellent.
Mm.
And for me, anything with Judi Dench is a winner.
Yeah, very clever casting. Yeah. And that's also important. You know, the producer having the whole concept. Because he might know he has a good story, but who's going to make that story better is the actors.
Yeah.
And getting a good cameraman.
Casting, we should do a workshop on casting.
Yeah, we should bring the Hubbards.
We should.
The Hubbards, they live in Lignal.
Yeah, no, we've been trying to get them for a few years.
Yeah. We always... See, this is what happens. We sit down, we talk.
Yeah.
Then we say, we should bring the Hubbards.
You see, Mary Selway would have been, but unfortunately she died a couple of years ago, but we could have definitely got her. My sister.
I think it's terribly important we could bring an agent. Is your sister an agent or sister-in-law?
My sister's not an agent anymore. She gave it all up, but we could get any aid. Yeah,
we should get some because that's an aspect of it as well.
It's and it's quite an overlooked
yes,
aspect,
it is.
but it takes a skill to know who's going to.
Mind you.
Pauline and Helen, you've been wonderful. So thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome.
You are very, very welcome.